Yo, what is up? Coach Keeley here. My very special guest, my bro, Coach Kia. He is visiting home for the holidays and he is heading out tomorrow. So it's been awesome having him back home for the holidays and seeing him again and talking story. We've grown up playing baseball at pretty much all levels except pro, but we've grew up in the town and moved away to different states in the mainland, but we've felt the vibes of all types of coaches, different leagues, different playing styles, and I think it gave us the perspective that we know now as coaches, coaching our respective um, environments per se. Club baseball versus recreational baseball, and growing up, we had pony baseball was the pretty much our only option that we had, and technically, pony baseball is a rec league. It's open to everyone. Um, there's there was some tryouts, but not so much. I mean, we were on the same team for like every year growing up, so it was good for the community. It was good for kids at all levels. I mean, I knew kids that played football and baseball, and we played both growing up, throughout every level of play. But now that we're here today, sitting on this couch, my brother has been on his journey with his club team, and I'm like, wow, that's sick. You guys got sick uniforms. You guys travel to these sick tournaments, and I sit here and I have my 9-year-old son, and we've been experiencing a recreational ball for the last 3 springs, and it's been fun, but I see where there's the differentiation between the rec ball and the club ball. But I also see that, rec ball is awesome. So, in a nutshell, let's just say, what is rec ball? What is recreational baseball? And when I think of this definition, what is recreational baseball? It is what it is. It's recreational. It's for fun. It's for skill building. It's for the camaraderie, the togetherness of the community, and I think that basically sums it up. But just throw in baseball in there, and that's what it is. But what I've seen, what I've experienced, is that certain leagues, or actually all leagues that I've been a part of, there is some not conspiracy vibes amongst like maybe the board members or like um the overlooking peoples of the league, but I feel like there are some downsides with that. I mean, I don't want to go deep into that, but there's this ruling body that kind of not makes their own rules, but it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird how I feel about it as a volunteer coach. Um, but that's what I think rec ball is.
I mean, I think it happens at every level, right? I mean, club ball or rec ball, um, depending on your perspective on it, it's going to have their positives and negatives. And I think that's what we're here to kind of talk about is, rec ball positives, negatives, and club ball positive and negatives, because there's going to be different viewpoints about either one, right?
Yeah. Besides the conspiracy theories, um, I think that I've got to know uh, a lot more kids, just random kids, um, through recreational baseball, because you know sometimes there's a pool. If you're a coach, you'll sign up. Hey, I want to start a team. I want to be the Guardians. We were the Guardians, and then they just assigned us kids, and those kids, had different skill levels. Sometimes it was their first year playing, some had experience, and it was tough as a coach, to develop those first year players, but it's also tough to keep those experienced players also involved into the whole progression of the team in general and finding success as a team. Um, I could tell we played in two different leagues. We played in the Kailo Little League and also the Hawaii Kai Baseball League. And you could tell that different neighborhoods did have different talent levels also.
Mm.
And I kind of liked both. I liked the Kailo Little League community. Moving to the Hawaii Kai baseball community, I loved it because it was like real competitive, and on the parent side, as far as the involvement, they're really like into it. Not saying that Kylo literally didn't have, but there was. But there is just the quantity was more, so I felt like, wow, this is nuts, this is cool. And then again, the talent of the players was a tad better because there was more quantity of teams that were just top tier. But I think that was a good thing about recreational baseball, is having the dynamic of the rookie players or the first year players and the more experienced players, and putting those together um, was fun because you could see the progression from day one to the last game of the season. But I feel like it's the same for club, but maybe it's more like, oh, okay, I get to select my players.
Yeah, the ones who come out, right? Like you still kind of have to deal with certain players coming out. Um, but I also think at the club level, you're really handling a lot more competition, right? There's a lot more tournaments to be had. There's a lot of more uh, high pressure competition games. You're traveling. Um, I know for Golden Spikes baseball, shout out. Um, we travel to Arizona every spring. The boys get to see the spring training games when we're over there in Arizona, and then our 12U usually goes to Cooperstown for the Dreams Park or the Village to play baseball. All
So
Star Village.
before we continue, um, from my understanding, like club baseball is different, and so describe in your perspective, what is club baseball?
Hmm. I would say club baseball is a little bit more focused baseball in terms of I would say winning. Trying to win baseball games, trying to dominate the area and to kind of show off a little bit in terms of talent, and to get your boy on or your son or your daughter, your athlete, on a bigger stage, and to see kind of if they can compete and keep up. You
Because
know,
technically, you guys aren't really a part of a league.
no, we play tournaments all over, and you have divisions, right? You have your open division, you have your majors, you have your double A, your triple A, your single A, all those types of things, and it really is a step above, I think personally, from rec ball, uh, based on commitment, right? Where we're asking parents to pay a certain amount of money, or we're going to be on this team for 4 months out of the year, and these are the 12 guys we're going to run with. And I know at Golden Spikes, after every fall and every spring, we have tryouts, no matter what. So all the guys have to be held accountable. There's a certain standard and expectation that we expect these guys to come out and play, wearing their uniform right, hustling around the field, acting a certain way, right? According to our expectations. Each club has their own expectations, their own standards that they're looking for in terms of a team or a player, and the coaches are also held to a certain standard. Um, And I think in general there is a higher level of coaching as well in terms of people who are involved with club ball. Usually, I know, well, I can only speak for Golden Spikes, but I know at Golden Spikes we have a really great staff. We have a lot of coaches that are dedicated to the game and know the game and have played baseball at a high level, right? And I think that's really, kind of a big difference. I know that sometimes in rec ball you have, somebody's dad volunteering, and not to say that that dad doesn't know a lot about baseball, but it's kind of like
Raising my hand
you
right
kind of
now.
spin the wheel on that, right? Like you might get a dad that has no idea about baseball, but he's willing to give his time, and kudos to that guy. We need more people out there coaching the youth, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think, if those guys are paying for baseball, right, they kind of expect a certain amount of coaching and time that goes into their player, their athlete.
Yeah, that when you say it like that, it definitely does sound like an upper echelon of youth baseball. The standards part, I feel like yes, the club level does hold their own, level of standards, and I think that's great because now you kind of trim the fat um of certain players or parents who aren't so dedicated. You see that they're interested, but maybe they don't tuck their shirt in, or they don't show up to practice every day of the week. And that's the thing that I had an issue with. Parents or families come from all neighborhoods around the island, and when we practice in a location that's maybe convenient for me because I'm the head coach, it might not be convenient for others. And so that was a deciding factor as far as if little Johnny could show up to practice twice, 2 times out of the 3 practices a week. And that sucked because if I got the same kid that's lives in the same neighborhood as Johnny coming every day to practice, he might not be the best player, but he's showing that dedication. But the other little Johnny, he's an awesome player, but he doesn't come to practice enough. Where do I stand as a coach? I mean, this is just rec ball. I have to play everybody a certain amount of innings. I can't sit kids more than a certain amount of innings. So I'm held to a standard that's so generalized for everyone, but not everyone is held to the standards that I have as a coach. And I found that a really difficult to play kids in certain positions, or not play kids.
Mm.
So I like that about club baseball, and but well, like you mentioned, the cost, right? There is a financial cost, and that, but that entails all of these upper echelon tournaments, the unis, the coaching, the tools and equipment being used. And like Kim mentioned, we got dads out there that are dedicated to help. Maybe had zero experience playing baseball, but it was helpful for me because I could delegate drills to them, and they learned in essence. So it made people better, as far as dads, and they can take that home to little Johnny and practice that at home, for a cheaper price than what you would pay at club baseball.
Mm-hmm.
But man, the difference, it's night and day. I think as far as like the talent level, the exposure, the coaching, the tools. But when if I'm a baseball player, a youth baseball player moving up in the ranks, when should a player consider playing that club baseball?
Well, there's lots of clubs out there, and I think, um, as a parent, it's really crucial to know who the coaches are, to know what the club is all about, to ask questions, to see who owns the club, Do they have a mission statement, right? Do they have a website, whatever? Any type of information you can find about the coaches, I think is number one, first of all. That way you can kind of gauge, hey, this coach coached at Fullerton, or he played at Fullerton under Augie Garrido, who was a legendary coach at Texas, right? And you get to know these kind of biographies about these coaches and kind of get maybe a gauge of, what kind of intensity and what kind of commitment they're going to demand out of your son or your daughter when they're playing ball, right?
So doing a research, obviously.
Right. And going there and meeting these people and asking questions, and maybe even looking up their record if you're really serious about, the wins and the losses and stuff. But I think another thing is, when you're considering club baseball, are you committed, right? I mean, I think the price kind of forces you to do that, right? And I think that's kind of a good thing. Oops. I think the price range really demands your commitment, right? You're paying all this money, and you're expecting to get better. And you're willing to show up no matter where it is, because you are paying the money to do so, right? I mean, we have tournaments all over where, parents are driving 2 to 3 hours for a tournament, and then having to come back the next day, maybe even at 8 a.m., right? And sometimes it sucks, but you're paying for the competition, you're paying for the tournament. But really, I think as a club looking out at the player, I think it demands your commitment as a parent, which then in turn keeps your focus there on the development of the kid. And also, there's a lot more outlets too, in terms of, the one-on-one trainings, the group training with these coaches that are very experienced. I mean, we have a guy, the owner of Golden Spikes, two owners of Golden Spikes. One was a California Angel, and one was, an ASU guy. And those guys they know baseball, and they know grit, and they know what the right way to play baseball is. And that trickles down also into the coaches that are involved as well. That standard and expectation that we're talking about. And also, playing time isn't guaranteed, right? And I think that kind of keeps the player and the parent accountable to show up to practice, and to put in the work, on their off days, because we don't practice every single day. I know at Golden Spikes we do 2 practices a week, and at least 2 tournaments a month, right, for 4 months in a row.
It's
And
crazy. It's a
on
lot of
those,
baseball.
yeah, and on those off days, when you're on your own, we try to give these guys plans, and we try to give these guys an opportunity to get better at home. And it comes with a little bit of pressure too, to try and perform and to stay on the team and to stay on that starting roster. But I think that kind of keeps everybody accountable in terms of, hey, you're not guaranteed playing time. The payment, I mean, hey, you made the team, and you're paying for these practices and tournaments, but you can't pay to get on the field, right? So it really, really puts on a little bit of pressure on the parents and the players to get their own work in, and to really be committed to our club, right? And I think that actually really creates a good environment, because we end up having teams that really stick together and grow together. And I think by the time they're 12, 13, 14, they're ready for high school baseball. They're ready to be able to take instruction from high school coaches, or I mean, at the upper level, right?
Yeah, I mean, $200 for 5 days a week of babysitting sounds like a steal, versus up to $1,000 a month roughly for babysitting.
Hmm.
I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking about it. It's kind of funny how I've experienced, all right, see you later, little Johnny. I mean, but who knows? Like, I don't know. But just saying, like, like, yeah, the dedication, it keeps people accountable for, showing up every day, putting in that work to make the team. Playing time isn't guaranteed, so what are you gonna do about it? Play play harder, or make that dedication. Keep yourself accountable. And it's crazy, but when I think of this, should I play club baseball or should I play rec ball? What what do I do? Like, well, what does somebody do when they're considering that? Should I play rec or should I play club? I don't know.
I think if you're at the rec ball level and you're playing and you're enjoying it and you're having a lot of fun and you're obviously a step above in terms of skill or balance or focus on the game, because I think when you really like something, you're really going to dedicate your time to it. You're going to be focused on trying to win or trying to get better, trying to perfect your craft, whatever that is. And if that passion is there, I think it is beneficial to go and try out a club baseball team for a little bit, at least a season, and see it through. And I think that's going to really give you a gauge of, do I belong here? Should I continue? Um, because seeing that other kids out there that are your age or even sometimes younger than you, and they're out there balling and they're focused and they're giving energy, they're talking on the field, they're communicating, and they're into the game. I think it's going to give you a little bit of a different perspective of whether or not like this club baseball level is good for you. And not to, some guys it's better to be in rec baseball. Sometimes that learning how to communicate, learning the basics of baseball, learning how to interact with different kids, right? That could be really good or really bad, whatever the case is, right? Um, if they're at rec baseball and they're having fun, and they're really into the game and they love it, then I would totally consider trying out club baseball. If they're out there and they're just out there for fun and hanging out, and I think as a parent you will know, you can kind of see it in your, you'll know your kids, right? Um, and if you see them engaging really well, I would definitely consider club baseball. And if they're out there just having fun, you really don't want to lose the fun part of baseball. And I
That
think,
passion.
yeah, in club baseball, sometimes that seriousness gets in the way of really playing loose and free and having fun, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that could be a downside of club baseball, when there's a lot of pressure and there's this expectation to win. Like, hey, we paid $450, you better go out there and focus. But I think as a parent, you got to know, well, it's not really about the money. It's about your son experiencing a higher level of baseball, and some of those kids really, there's a shock, when you that first year of travel baseball is like, oh man, I thought it was really really good, but man, there's 9 other guys that are really good on this other team, and they're really playing really well. I mean, it really tests your passion for baseball. But sometimes, yeah, club baseball can get the pressure, and I think as a parent, just encouraging your son, whether they're playing rec baseball or club baseball, being there for them and encouraging them, and just experiencing it and taking it for a ride, and deciding afterwards whether or not you're going to continue, playing club. But I think the biggest thing is if you see your son or daughter or your athlete engaging in the sport, and asking them questions. Hey, do you love baseball? Do you see yourself playing? Because if we start this, we're gonna finish it. And I think asking those questions and like, hey, I want to do it, and then setting those standards and expectations for them heading into that season, and letting them know, hey, it might be hard, but those are great opportunities to really gain that experience and the data and the information, because even if you do 1 year of club baseball, with a lot of really good coaches, if as you as a parent and you're asking questions, or you're talking to your coaches and you're getting that data, even if you go back to that rec ball environment, you can kind of implement those things and maybe get better, and then try again for another club baseball later. when they're a little older, or maybe when they engage a little bit more, or find a little bit more love for the game.
Yeah. I mean, out of the 30 kids I did coach, I mean, I can say less than a handful of kids were very competitive and talented. And even me communicating with the parents, they feel comfortable. They were comfortable having, little Steven um, play play ball, having fun, and some of these kids play multiple sports, so it's just a lot easier to see that passion grow not only in baseball, but on the field, but off the field too. And I think, you know, like you said, during doing um, that weighing process, like weighing the options. Does my child need to develop more, or is he ready to be competitive, and but following through with that vision, that journey in club baseball is definitely something to consider. But yeah, club ball versus rec ball, it's a constant battle between the two. Maybe not, but travel ball, club ball is it's 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 a beast in itself. But thank you for joining us on episode 3, Steadfast Baseball Podcast. Stay tuned for more episodes in the future. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Hey, comment down below. Do you play rec ball? How's about club baseball? Tell us your experiences. Shoots. Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to have fun.